So I'm going to hand over to Paul to talk about Azure native security. I'd like to get your views on what security technologies Microsoft provide directly to offer the security to their customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
On what you would put on top.
And this is, from a Microsoft perspective, there's lots of, and I kind of alluded to this already with regards to the physical buildings and what we do there as an organization. The next layer above that is what software services are offered as part of that. So if we could have a look at the next slide. So when we look at the networking services, we can see the dial here, and we have a number of different elements. When we look at it, we have that protect, the deliver, the monitor, and the connection parts of it. So if I have my on-premise environment, and I'm looking at how do I connect to that data, then I use those elements around either a direct connection through ExpressRoute, or once that's connected, then the virtual network element that sits within Azure itself. Then I want to kind of monitor that, and I start to look at what capabilities I can use and even to start to control it. And that's where we look at, those components at the bottom there, bottom left-hand corner, like Network Watcher, or even the Azure Monitor itself for logging and metrics and performance type data. If we focus more so now on the protect element and look at those components, and then that's where we can see, we've got that idea of the virtual data center on and the services that we can utilize. And this is where we will see some elements of, similar technologies in respect to when we look at things like, we've mentioned network security groups there, which are always part of that. But then when we start to look at areas like firewalling and web application firewalls, etc. So, we look at that. And if we move to the next slide, we can kind of see the list of elements there. So we talked about the web application firewall piece, but then we also have DDoS protection at the platform level. So thinking about Azure itself, and how do how do our customers have an assurance that Microsoft's going to protect the environment, what's below the waterline and what's being managed there. And the element of using service endpoints to even protect the data at that end of the chain, as you referred to it. So we then kind of look at how do we structure that? And we think about this in a hub-spoke architecture. And this is where we build on those native security services. So again, we can see our on-premise network with our traditional infrastructure, our Active Directory, our file print services, our clients, our web apps, all of those elements. And now we can start to think about moving those into a more cloud-based environment. But I still want to retain that element of segmentation. And we can go into that hub-spoke type scenario. But it's key here in the types of services that we offer. DDoS protection is there, and we can add additional DDoS protection over and above what is at the platform level for a customer if they choose to. And then we can also look at, what we can do with network security groups. At the end, we can, as I've mentioned, we can control access across those virtual networks and ensure that we have levels of, appropriate communication between the various elements of that. So if I have elements that sit on premise that need access to a virtual network or a service in a network, we can control it, the traffic across those elements.